Hi, folks. Hey, Scott, you made it. Right on. It's good to see you, buddy. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. I've got my ale of ginger ready. I think I'm ready to go. So, hi, Bob. We got the notorious bitter buffalo here tonight. Cool. It's good to see you, Clyde. Hey, Bob, I really appreciate you submitting the photo for this evening. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of critique with it. I might suggest a couple things to you, but this photo is really, really a nice photo. It's a really good place to start. So I appreciate you submitting it for tonight's show. So Z72, huh? You trade your D850. You should have sent that D850 to me because I love my D850 and I still haven't migrated away from it yet. So, best digital SLR ever made was the Nikon D850. It's like the last one ever made. Who is coming out with one? Somebody's putting a new digital SLR out. It's like Fuji or somebody like that, and I can't remember now. So, all right, you guys. I've got a good core group here. I got 5 of you. So if I get a huge crowd in here, I get a little overwhelmed. If you haven't noticed, I kind of get a little stage fright. I get a little nervous when I'm doing this, and I don't know why, but it's getting better. You know, I'm getting better. So $400, 150,000 clicks. Yeah, I would have given that. I would have given you that darn camera. Yeah, I love my D850. Okay, let's move on here. What we're doing tonight is working with Bob Williams' photo. He submitted this photo to process tonight, and I think he's wanting to kind of learn or see what I do with the Orton effect afterwards, though. But I'm going to start with the raw file. This is kind of what I came up with earlier today. What do you think, Bob? Tell you what, when I looked at your photo, I went, I don't know how I can improve on it because it's such a nice, beautiful photograph. And it was really good file to start with. So let me get over here to the raw file, and I'm going to hit reset. Make sure that we're right back in the beginning, okay? Right on. I'm glad you approved, Bob. So, yeah. Hi, Rachel. It's good to see you here. Thank you for showing up. I really appreciate it. So, Big Spring. Yeah, this photo right here has 0 processing, the one that I have on the screen. Hoping that everybody's looking at the Lightroom window. Because you know me, you guys, I always get these darn things mixed up. I got 2 different screens going here, so when I switch screens, I have to. But at least I remember, you know, a couple times I went on for a few minutes not knowing that I had to switch. So go. Hi, Shauna. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to move on here. So this photo I've completely reset from scratch. This is his raw file, and let's take a look at his histogram. His histogram looks pretty good. It could maybe move to the right a little bit, but he's hasn't blown the highlights out, and he hasn't crushed the shadows. So we got a good file here. What do you shoot with, Bob? What camera was this? I think it's a Canon, but I'm not sure what model. I didn't check the EXIF. Maybe I could do that. Let's see here. Now let me go over here and properties. It should tell me what you're shooting with here. Canon R5, beautiful. Yeah, that's an awesome camera. I tell you, that's an awesome camera. Yeah, I'm not someone to jump on the bandwagon and tell everybody else that my brand is better than everybody else. It works the best for me. I think it's I think the reason I started with Nikon is because I was using Nikon film cameras and I had old glass, had old lenses, and back then I wanted to make sure the camera that I bought I could use my old glass on it, my old lenses. And then after that, I just kind of stuck with them. So I think they're pretty easy. I use a lot of different cameras out in the field. So, all right. What I want to do here is I want to start up here. And I think what I want to do is I want to level this out. It kind of tilts to the right for me. Okay. And I'm going to be keeping an eye on the top of the waterfall. I'm going to keep an eye on, if you can see my mouse over here, this line right here, this line right here, and the top of the waterfall. A little closer according to my eye. So, what I do with this isn't necessarily what you're going to do with it. Especially if you aren't influenced with one here. So, all right. So we leveled it out to Adobe Neutral. Watch the shadows open up. Before, after. Can you see those shadows open up? Now all of a sudden we can see what's in the shadows over here and on here. We're going to end up darkening those because we're going to end up doing a bit of a vignette, but we haven't gotten there yet. So, all right. So I've switched the color profile to Adobe Neutral, and I've kind of leveled it out according to my eye. And next thing I'm going to do is go with the white balance. So let's go down here to auto and see how it looks. Auto kept everything nice and green, but it made the water nice and white. So I like nice and white water. There's many times on a day that you have a blue sky, and a lot of times you'll get the blue sky reflecting on top of the water, and the reflection looks blue. And although it's kind of a cool look, a lot of people will saturate that blue and make it really look blue. I warm the white balance up and get rid of that. I like nice white water. I'm a white water guy. So, all right, how have we done so far? We've just started. All right, I want to come through, and the only reason I'm messing with the highlights here is I want to bring out some of the definition that he got in the water. Now, his shutter speed was 1.3 seconds, which is a good speed, because anything longer than that, you're going to start washing out a lot of these details that he's been able to get. Watching the highlights or the water there and the white spots there, and see how it's starting to define it a little bit. I'm going past where I'm going to leave it, but if you notice how it's bringing out some of the texture that he's gotten in that water. Let's look over here. See, you can just about see the flash splashes of the water and stuff. If you go too long, all the stuff is going to just turn into white cotton candy or something. Isn't that a beautiful? That's a beautiful shape right there. That is just really pretty. And like I said, you can look in there and you can see texture in his whites in that water. It's really pretty. Good job, Bob. Good job. Give yourself a POB, pat on the back. I'm going to compliment this thing probably all the way through this because I really, really like this picture. All right, where was I? Oh, yeah. We brought the highlights down, and I'm probably going to leave the shadows alone for now. Same with the whites and the blacks. I want to do a couple of filters or some dodging and burning here. So where am I at? Let's get into the masks. And my favorite mask is the radial mask. I've been able to get it to do more. And it's a more versatile mask than any of the other masks in there. And really what we're doing right now is nothing more than dodging and burning or zone adjustment, zonal contrast adjustment and stuff like that with these. So what I want to do is I brought it up there. I want to fade this a little bit more though, I think. And bring this down a little bit. Not much. I don't really want to affect the water too darn much, but I mean, we could always mask that out if we wanted to, but let's just see how this works. If we bring the exposure up, we're showing some light back there, okay? And I might want to bring this over a little bit more and brighten it up a little bit. And then I'm going to bring my highlights down. Now watch the top of the waterfall here. Hold on. Come on. All right. There we go. And I'm zoomed in quite a bit, which I don't usually zoom in quite this far. I could always adjust the magnification. But all we're going to do is work on highlights here because when I made it brighter, like some of the highlights in here on the waterfall were, were a little bit too bright. And then up here in the trees, let's see what it's doing up here in the trees. And I like to slide my slider back and forth a lot. It's fun. Not only that, but it kind of shows you where your highlights are a little bit too bright and not. If you just get in here and start just doing a little bit of tweaks and stuff like that, it's, for me anyhow, it doesn't really indicate the full spectrum of adjustment that this was going to have. And Bob, something else you did this is that you really nailed your focus with this. I like that you used the F16 and got yourself kind of away from the foreground enough to be able to increase your depth of field to be able to push your focus out. So another good job. Did well. So I'm going to get back to the highlights and I'm going to bring these down because it looks like the trees look a little bit more realistic to me that way. They don't look quite so bright. So, okay. Now let's make another one. I'm going to do another radial gradient. And I'm going to go from the center here out to the edges here. Let me change it a little bit, change it up a little. And then I'm going to come up here to the mask and I'm going to invert the mask. That way it affects the outsides of the frame. And I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Just a little bit because we really want to focus the light from the outside in towards the back. It's kind of like a funnel effect, right? It helps the viewer's eyes go back to through the shot, not necessarily go to the back, but it helps because the foreground is going to capture them first, just by nature, typically, unless there's no real foreground there. But here you've got really a nice beginning to this scene in the front here, and so we want them to come back and then look back to the waterfall and then the light up here in the back. So it's kind of a tunnel effect, and this vignette here is going to help that. Okay, so let's pull this up, and remember, we can always go back and change all this stuff as time goes by. Okay, let me see. I want to go up and mess with this one a little bit more now that we've got the vignette in there. Something else that I do, even if I have a radial gradient back there in the sky, I still want to keep in mind that there's light coming in from the top. And so if it's all concentrated in the center, it doesn't necessarily look right to me anyhow. So I'll bring linear gradient down. And I'll push shift to make it straight, because I want it straight across. There's times when I bring them in from the corner and I don't want them straight, so that works. And then I'm going to come over and bring my exposure up. Maybe make it a little bit longer. There we go. Now we've got a nice fade of light coming in from the top. I think it looks pretty good. Pretty good. Let's see what we got here. I think this gradient isn't giving us enough in the center here. All right. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Let's do this. Let's create another radial gradient and come up here into this area here. And let's just kind of open this up just a little bit. It's a little dark for me. So if you notice, I just did a little bit. Let me set it back again. Now watch. I just did a little bit. And this is something else too. You can go back and forth here if you're wondering where the gradient is or something like that. Let me reset it here and then go up, because I just want a little bit, just to open the shadows up just a little bit. Ooh, I'm not used to working on other people's photos. I'm used to working on the junk that I take. All right, let's see here. And all this stuff we're doing right now is just dodging and burning. We're not doing any corrections at all to this photo. All we're doing is, let's see, where am I at here? All we're really doing is, see, now what I did with this gradient down here is I opened up these shadows, because when I made the vignette, this down here just went into the darkness, okay? And I didn't really want it to be that way. And so now we're kind of messing with the vignette that we made. All right, let me go back over here. Hold on, let me get back here. I want to do one more thing. Do a radial gradient right over here in this corner. Right over here, maybe. And just bring the shadows out a little bit over there. All right. Pretty cool. Let's see what we can do here. Do we need a little bit more vignette? Maybe. So, all right, let's move on, because what I want to do is fine tune the adjustment, the contrast adjustment through the photo. Because if you remember, in the very beginning, I switched the profile to Adobe Neutral, and that flattened it out. So what I want to do is recover what I kind of flattened out earlier. So I'm going to go into the tone curve, And I just want to maybe peck at the highlights a little bit here. Hey, Joseph, this is a beautiful photo. You and I both would be proud to photograph this scene. Such a beautiful way. He really did a good job. All right. It's messing with my water, but I like the way it affected everything else. So we're going to deal with that here in a minute. So, okay, let's bring the lights up a little bit. And I don't want to bring the shadows up necessarily, but I'll bring the darks down. And the reason that I'm not doing this is because it's more black. It's easier to just introduce a real black spot in your photograph. So if I want to dim it a little bit, I'll just do the darks usually. Okay. All right. Okay, let's go back to our masks. Let's see what we've got here that I want to mess with. Let's go up to the top. I think I got a little bit. What am I seeing here? Just a little bit too dark. Highlights. Too much. Remember, you guys, you're the artist. You know, what looks good to my eye may not necessarily look good to your eye, but. And I don't want to make it too bright. This is in the shadows of the forest, you know, and so you really don't want to affect that. You know, you really don't want to get rid of that, especially when the way this is photographed with this touch of light in the background over here. That darkness in the beginning is, like I had mentioned earlier, the darkness in the beginning is really, really going to help the depth of the photograph. Okay. So let's go over here. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. This is fun. I really enjoy this. All right, let's mess with our masks a little bit more here. I want to go back up here to the top, that one. And I think I want to bring it up a little bit more. And then I'm leaving that one alone. Let's mess with this guy here, the linear mask. Let's make him a little bit brighter. See, then I'm going to go back to this one and bring it. Now that I mess with that radial, it got that the radial one got a little too bright. So I've got a couple dodge areas here. I want to bring them up just a hair. Just a hair. Yeah. Oh man, I tell you what, this is looking good. This is a really pretty photo. Oh, something else I didn't do. Oh, okay. I wanted to make sure that my chromatic aberration was clicked especially. All right, let me think here. I've just about done what I need to do with this photo in Lightroom, I think. You know, this is where I would take a walk. Maybe go outside, throw the ball for little Hazel or something. Then I'd come back and see if I needed to do any more adjustments before I take this into Photoshop. And this is something that Bob wanted me to do, is to bring it in and mess with some Orton effect with this. And this is the perfect photo for an Orton effect. I love how the Orton effect affects the moss, the green of the moss. And it gives the highlights a little bit of a diffused look, a little soft look in the background. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. That's why we are able to vary the opacity of each adjustment, so we can affect how much is affecting it. So, all right, I think I'm going to bring this in. You know, what I probably would do is I'd probably go through and maybe do these sticks out of here. And one thing I did want to kind of mention, Bob, while I'm thinking about this, is this moss here. Let me see. Let me zoom out a little bit. You could go through and take a quick fast shutter speed and then go through and do your slow shutter with the water. And then afterwards, you can mask this in so that this isn't moving in here. But it does not, it really doesn't distract from the shot. I just wanted to mention that. Okay. So I'm going to right click and going to hit edit in. I'm going to go into Adobe Photoshop 2026. It should pop up here. All right, let's go back out again here. That's really pretty. Right click, duplicate. Okay. Bob, did I ever send you the, I'm assuming that you use Photoshop. So I'm wondering if I ever sent you the action for the Orton that I do. Wonder if I can include it in this chat over here. Oh, okay, so you do have it. Okay, good. Pardon me. You know, let me think. I want to. Oh, yeah, that's right. Golly, Wally. Thank you for doing that. Thanks for the reminder, everybody, including Bob. Shauna, I don't know what I'd do without you. You're a big help. I don't know why I can't even remember that. I even reminded myself when I first started this stupid video, this live video here. I got to remember that. Okay, I want to look at something here. I want to make sure that we haven't pulled this water down a little bit too far. Yeah, I think I kind of like it a little bit brighter, but let's just do this instead. All right, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to click on the levels adjustment. Now, for those of you that are not Photoshop people, if you're not a Photoshop person, then I'm going to kind of show you kind of an introduction when I do these videos and show you how easy Photoshop really is, especially nowadays. So, all right, what I did is this. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to have the adjustments open. And these are all the adjustments you can do, and they're non-destructive, so they're a layer above the bottom layer. And each one of these little things here, it's a layer. So if I turn the bottom one off, turn this one off and on, you can see that's invisible. If I turn the bottom one on, you see it's showing the bottom layer. Right now it's showing the top layer. And above the top layer, I'm going to go and, if that makes sense to you guys, the gem is in the house. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. So we're going to do a pardon me. What we're doing right now is a levels adjustment, just because I think that I've kind of messed with the here. Control Z, Control or Command Z if you don't do it right. Yeah, I just want to bring that up a little bit. Okay. Now, if you want to make a layer that includes everything you've done below it, you can hit Control Shift Alt E, and don't get your fingers twisted up into and not doing that. So, and if you're on a Mac, it's Control Alt Option E. And if you, where did I do? Come on, Control Shift Alt E. Yeah, Control Shift Alt E. Holy cow! And if you notice over here, it made it made another layer, and it's a layer that include the adjustments that I did here. So Got a frog in my throat tonight. All right, so the reason I went ahead and made a layer for this is because to run that Orton effect above an adjustment layer, it doesn't work right. So duplicate all of the adjustments. Even if you have 100 adjustments down here, create another layer, okay? I'm going to hit my Orton effect. Let it sit there and think for a few minutes. All right, let's turn it off and on so you can see what happened. Okay. You notice I brightened it up a little bit because I knew it was going to make it a bit more dark. At least the effect that I want afterward is going to make it darker. But we're going to adjust to all that right over here. So this is the layer that affects the lights. It says light layer here. If you notice up here at the top, here, let me control. Okay, let me move in so you can see. This is the highlight. See, it kind of made it a glow. And you're not going to see a big effect of the light layer because there's not a whole lot of light in there, okay? But what will affect it the most is the dark layer. But I'm going to take the light layer. I'm going to move in on it again so I don't make it too fuzzy. You know, I don't really care. Well, maybe a little of the light layer, just a little bit. I'm going to put in maybe 30%. I think, because we could probably do without it in this photo. Let me see here what's going on with this top of this waterfall. Somehow we messed up the top of the waterfall. Is it the Orton effect that's doing that? No, we did it before we came in. All right, so let's go back into Lightroom. I want to go back and look at that water. There we go. Now it's not blowing out. All right, now watch this. I'm going to right click, edit in Adobe Photoshop, and it's going to come in as a different separate file. Okay, now this control or command. So I don't do Mac, so I have to sit and think about it. I do them every now and then, but I have to think about it. What I'm going to do, the tabs for the different files. What I want to do is bring this in and repair what I did with that waterfall. Okay, so this came in as a layer. It came in inside the Orton effect. So it came in as a layer. Okay, now I'm going to hit Alt or Option and then the mask button here, and I'm going to make a mask. Typically when you make a mask, it's white. Here, I'll show you. Make a mask and it's white. So what that's doing is it's just showing you this layer and it's not showing you what's underneath. So if I hold Alt or Option and then do a mask, it's a black mask. So the mask right now is not showing you this file because it's black. So it's concealing this top layer and it's revealing the lower layer underneath of it. So the reason I did that is because I don't want any other part of this file except for the top of the waterfall that I messed up. So now I'm going to go in here, use your space bar to move around. I'm going to take a paintbrush, and it's a black mask, so I want to use the white paint. So I'm going to, right now over here, you can see the paint chips on the left-hand side. And right now they're black over white. I want to hit X, and it's white on top, okay? So now your paintbrush is white. You can use your brackets to make the circle bigger or smaller. Opening black bracket will make it smaller, and a closing bracket will make it bigger. And then I'm just going to go in here. Oh yeah, and to change the opacity, you can hit 0, and 0 makes it 100%. You can choose 5, makes it 50%. If you look up here at the top, you can see the opacity changing. 60% with 6, 30%. I'm going to go as 100% with this, I think, and see how it looks. All right, see, I just corrected how it was overexposed there. Did you guys see that? Were you able to see that? Let me turn it off and on for you. I'd like to show you what I did. See how bright it is? I didn't pay attention to it when I brought it in here, so I had to repair it. Okay. All right, let me see if there's any other place in here that might benefit from that. I'm not sure about this one. Let's bring this up a little bit and make this 30%. We'll press the 3, and we'll just brush over this just a little bit. Ooh, that's pretty. Now let's see. We haven't done anything to the dark layer, Orton layer, but it really looks kind of cool the way it is, but I think it's just a little too heavy-handed. So I want to pull this over to 0 and then creep in on it and see if I can see where I want to stop. Probably somewhere around 30 to 40, 35% maybe. Something like that. Okay, let me turn it off and on and see what we got going here. I want to put a mask on that, and I want to open up the brightness in this area here. Oops. Where am I at? Oh, X. Am I doing that right? X. 0. Let's bring that brightness back in. And what I did with this layer is I took the dark layer and I created a mask. I used the black paintbrush and painted on the mask in black so the black would show what's underneath. And so I kind of exposed what's underneath there. That's underneath the black. And I really like to turn things off and on, see what I got going on here. I might want to bring this one back into Lightroom. There's a few things that are simpler and easier in Lightroom that I think I want to mess with here. That's how far Lightroom has come. I mean, when I first started using Lightroom, it was really limited, and I just like to do everything in Adobe Camera Raw. You know, it took me a while to jump over to Lightroom, but back then it was just basically a raw file converter. You know, you would convert your raw files so you could process them in Photoshop, much like it is. I mean, Adobe Camera Raw is that way because you have to bring it into ACR to be able to convert it from raw files. Anyway, I'm rambling. All right, let me see here. All right, I'm going to hammer this one down. So I'm going to go Layer, Flatten Image. I'm going to hit this X up here. It's going to ask me if I want to save it, and I want to say yes. And I'm going to close this and change it. So we only used it in this other photo. So wow, pretty cool. Now I want to come over here with your raw file. Hit reset on that. So this is where we come. This is what we brought in from Photoshop just now. And that there is what we started with. So let's just look at this for a minute and see if that's where we're going. And this is also a time where I would just go off, take a walk for a while, and just let my brain and my eyes just kind of forget about what's there, then come back. And a lot of times if you do that, you'll see that maybe something's a little bit different. or you want to do something a little different. I want to try something here. No, I don't like it. I like the nice green in that. It really looks nice. Oh, you're kidding me. Hold on. Doggone it, son of a biscuit. Oh, Bob, I'm sorry. I appreciate you, man. All right. It's the simple things, like forgetting to change the screen over. All right. I think we got it now. So let me look it over here and see what we've got. I want to bring my histogram up too to see what I have up here too. I've mentioned this before, is that I like to follow my histogram through from creating the image. Another radial. I want to bring in the highlights a little bit more, bring them down a little bit more. There we go. And let me look. Okay. Let me think. I'm thinking that these darks need to be lightened up a little bit. I don't really want to lighten up the whole thing, but let me see if I can bring in a linear gradient. See how much easier it is to dodge and burn in Lightroom than it is over in Photoshop. I'm going to bring this corner over here, and I just want to open up the shadows a little bit. You guys notice down here in the right-hand corner, you can see the rocks now more better. I'm not going to bring them up all the way, but I want to open that up a little bit. I don't know. I think I've kind of nitpicked the heck out of it. The vignette might be a little heavy. Maybe. Let me bring the shadows up a little bit, and that'll affect the outside a little bit. There we go. In the vignette itself. I don't know. Now we're just tweaking little bitty pieces out, little bit at a time, Then we sit and think about it. So let me do a couple more things just kind of popped into my head. Let me do another radial gradient. I like this little pour off over here in the corner. Let's open that up a little bit. Whoops. Don't want to go too high on that. Oops. I messed. To grab the contrast into the highlights. And the shadows a little bit there too. There we go. I'm going to bring my highlight down a little bit. Is there any other place that would benefit from that? Maybe over here on the right side? Just a tad. Just a wee bit. Beautiful. Beautiful photo. Where is this at? I mean, not specifically. Is this in Oregon here? Or is this somewhere else? I'm not recognizing it as the reason why. And I've got a few waterfalls that are kind of my go-to waterfalls. Oh, over in Gifford Pinchot. I used to live in White Salmon at one time. Used to wander around all over there, and I didn't know anything about any of these waterfalls back then. So, all right, everyone, what do you think? How's everybody think? What does everybody think about what we've done tonight? Because I think I'm just about done. This little area down here looks a little bit bright to me. This whole area, including the moss. There we go. Let me bring the whites up a little bit, maybe. Just a little bit. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, Scott. I mean, how many times have we processed together? Scott's a really good friend of mine, and him and I have been working on our photography together for quite some time. He's become quite the photographer. I kind of have myself keyholed into nature or wildlife, outdoor photography, landscape and wildlife. And Scott, he's a Renaissance man photographer for sure. So, yeah, I could probably bring that vignette back in. What I did is I dropped the shadows. Now watch, Joe. Yeah, can you see? So the vignette is there. It's just it could be a little bit darker. And I thought about that when I had it in Photoshop and I laid that um, Orton effect over the top of it because it really did. So Scott, you're awesome, buddy. I can't wait to see you again. But yeah. See, it's got a vignette there, but it could be maybe a little bit darker. Maybe if the exposure itself was brought back down. Let's go back in here and let's create a radio. I'm just going to do I'm going to kind of do maybe the top and the sides, or the bottom and the sides. I'm going to invert this. And let's bring in a little bit more vignette. How's that look, Joe? A little bit better from where you're sitting? Yeah. 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 Does that look better? Let me turn this one off and on. I might want to make it a little bit out towards the edge a little bit more. Maybe something like that. Oh, I know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go back up to the top, brighten that up again now that I've made the rest of it darker. Well, that waterfall sure is pretty back there, isn't it? Man, that's pretty. How's that look? A little bit better. It's bringing in the yeah. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw this, is just the amount of depth in the photograph from the foreground all the way to the back, and he nailed his focus too without having a focus stack. Did a really good job. I was kind of excited to see this because this is kind of right up my alley. I like this kind of stuff. So yeah, if you guys have a file like Bob just sent this one to me, and it's an exercise in practice in Lightroom, adding a few more things with Photoshop. You don't have to do Photoshop, but it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of that knowledge, because I saved myself a lot of trouble by adjusting in Lightroom, bringing it back over there in Photoshop, then dusting in that waterfall, for instance. So the sky mask works good. Yeah, I think it works really good. It's getting better all the time. I use it a lot, as a matter of fact. So, if I do any kind of adjustment where I'm bringing a little bit more brightness into the scene, a lot of times it'll make my sky a little bit too bright. So I'll go and select the sky and bring the adjust the exposure down a little bit. But yeah, it's a great tool. I can't believe the tools that we have in Lightroom nowadays. And I've said it before, and I really kind of believe that sooner or later, Lightroom and Adobe Camera Raw are going to kind of merge together into one. I don't know. I'm not a Adobe engineer or anything, but it seems like it seems like Adobe Camera Raw is looking more and more like Lightroom every time they have an adjustment or update. So, but I kind of suspect there's a few things that Adobe Camera Raw is holding out to that Lightroom doesn't quite use, but I haven't really went down that rabbit hole yet. So anybody else have any questions or comments or anything like that? Lay them on me. Even suggestions. I don't, like I said before, I don't know everything. All I do is play with sliders, but the one thing that I really, really am adamant about when I'm in the field is I have my checklist of the 3 things that I have to have before I can move on into a scene. Matter of fact, I can take a photograph, and if I make sure that I've got my composition right and I have my exposure right according to my histogram and I have my focus right, I can move on to another scene or move in or move out on that scene or something like that. But you've got everything in your raw file to be able to adjust and process into a photograph if you've got those 3 things. So, okay. The edge adjustment helped a lot. You know what I was doing before that? I was going in and touching it up with a mask, touching up the mask with a paintbrush. But yeah, it's getting better all the time. So, all right, everyone. If you've got a file you want me to work on, let me know. Bob and I communicated back and forth a little bit over the last few days and came up with a plan. And I really appreciated him turning this into for the group, let the group work on it, So, yeah. Was this really, I tell you, Bob, I saw the photograph that you had processed, and it was really a good photograph. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. First thing that popped into my mind was that, how can I improve on that? So you're an awesome photographer. Yeah. Let's get together one of these days and go stomp around and try to stomp around in a creek and find some moss and some beautiful forests. We can go out and photograph it. You too, Joe. We got to get together sometime. We've been, meaning to do it for quite some time. So, yeah. What else? Let me think. I'm trying to think of what else I got here that I could do. But I think what we got going on here now is a pretty good situation. So I'm trying to read the chats if you guys were oh, right on. Tell Damon I said hi. That's awesome. That's cool. My good buddy Damon. I'm sure you're talking about Damon Ellis, my brother from high school. We went down and we just had our 50th high school reunions. I don't know where the time's gone, but if I sit and think about the time, I think of all the stuff that's happened in my life. I go, I did a pretty good job so far. So, not quite so depressing if I think about the time. If I feel thankful for everything that I've done, been able to do, and be thankful for where I'm at right now in my life compared to where I used to be in my life, pretty happy. So, all right. Shauna, Rachel, everybody. Oh, where are you going, Shauna? I was going to try to go down and name everybody, and all of a sudden my brain is full. So, oh, they don't have. Yeah, I know. Cave Junction in Illinois Valley's always got fire problems. Please be careful down there. Please be safe. And if you guys are right in town, you're right in town, and Damon's right in town, so hopefully, he's safe there. But it's a pain in the ass when you can't have electricity, So I've got this little gizmo here, and it's just a cheap little thing, but I always keep it charged up. And then I've got an LED light that plugs into it, and so I can charge up my speaker and turn it on, listen to some music, and have some lights and stuff in the house without going through a huge big situation. So gives Darlene and I time to sit down and play board games and stuff together. So you're going to Brazil. Holy moly. I was going to try to think of the Portuguese that I used to know, but I can't remember any Portuguese. You're going to have to brush up on your Portuguese if you go down there, I think. So I have a good friend that lives in Brazil, or is from Brazil. He lives in Seattle right now. My good buddy Paolo. So 9 p.m. Almost time to go to bed by then. So, all right. I think I'm about there. Power supplies, yeah, they're great. Yeah, and you don't have to worry about the damn generator running outside. So, all right, I'm starting to ramble about things that have nothing to do with photography. And I want to thank you again for showing up. This really means the world to me for you guys to come over and support me like this in this way, and encouraging me to keep going and stuff. And I'm hoping you guys are getting something out of this, because that's what this is all about. So, all right, reach out to me if you need. I've also got my website, my Instagram, Facebook. I got a Patreon page that I'm starting to get rolling, and I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff over there. And I'm going to probably be posting all of these over there too as free content. So not everything's, I'm putting stuff up there, and then every now and then I plan on doing some premium content, but I haven't quite got there yet. So everything over there is that I'm doing is accessible to you. So, okay. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. That really means a lot for you guys to show up for these on Sunday nights, and I appreciate it. So, okay. All right, everyone. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. I'm saying it 100 times, but I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.